Okay, I am Renee Borglum. I've been on tech team with Kim Ross and Chuck Buseman, and we've been exploring Twitter a little bit and how we can use it to expand our classrooms. We didn't really want to use it with students, so we were looking at how we could bring experts into our classroom. And something that we came across was we're talking about doing a museum exhibit for our light and sound unit. We just kind of put feelers out, and Elizabeth Fleming from North Carolina replied and said that she'd be willing to Skype with us about how they make exhibits and how they choose what goes in there. So we're going to talk with her.
What are you hoping to get out of today?
Well, she is an expert in the field. She works at a museum, and so we are hoping that she can shed some light on how you set up a good exhibit, and so that we can then share that with the students so that they can have some idea of what they should be looking for when they actually go to make their own.
Well, we contacted you through Twitter just to get some ideas about how to set up exhibits.
We're hoping that maybe we can then take all of the 9th grade physical science projects, put them together, put them in a big gym, and have maybe some 5th graders come in or something and actually go through and try it out. And so they would actually, it would be like we create our own little mini science museum here.
Like one of the things that when we start our work, like we're researching a new topic, like right now we're doing one on geology and like earth science. We really do go more on like what would people want to do, like what would they really have fun doing, what would be really engaging to do, and less, believe it or not, about like what do we want people to learn. Like we try kind of not to approach it from that didactic like kind of textbook way, like what is the, of course we're always going to like circle back to what the content area that we're going to address, especially because we'll want to align it and so that our education team can develop field trip programs around it and stuff like that. So it always does circle back around, but that's not where we start. We start with what would people want to do. And I have some kind of criteria documents I could even share, just like kind of checklists of when we try to look for, when we are kind of like rating a collection of exhibits, we have everything at a prototype level and we're trying to pick what's going to really make the cut. We do a lot of evaluation, formative evaluation of visitor, what the hands-on part is, but then figuring out like how to write it could be like a really cool part of it. One thing, for example, is we keep all of our graphics, all of our labels to like 50 words or less. Like, I mean, that exercise of like writing a very succinct like explanation of a topic that is not like an encyclopedia version is something that certainly takes practice. And even having them understand that like even if it's a science thing, that there is writing involved or whatever. Like,
yes, we've been working on that a lot this year. We've really been struggling with that aspect actually. Yes. So that's really great that you brought that up.
Yeah, so that would be very
well,
cool
and
too.
I have an activity in my head because she said that. We show them the label and they have to say what they think the exhibit would look like based on the description now.
Okay, so my next question is if we actually would set this up like in our gym. As
with
we're
175 students.
Like we thought we would like some background on how a science museum decides how they're going to do the layout for their exhibit. So like what goes, when you walk in the door, what do you see first and why is that there?
For one, exhibits are then organized into like exhibitions. So you'll have like, for example, an exhibition about weather that we have contains, like 10 exhibit components, like the single components about with like a tornado and a cloud bowl and those are the individual components, and then it's organized into like a thematic area, and like that's an exhibition. So then within the building, a lot of it has to do with just kind of like architecture and like what space we have to work with in the building, because we have the way we design exhibits, try not to do it in like a sequential way. Like it's not like you have to have done this one in order for this one to make sense. Some places do design exhibits where you kind of go in one way and like it's a really set path.
Yeah.
We don't like to like define the flow as much because it is a free choice learning environment. Like let people kind of go wherever they want. So it is more of like people are going to just bounce around like ping pong balls. So you have to like account for that. and it's not, you can't over design the fact that they're going to do this and this and this, because that just doesn't happen.
Okay.
In
How
our
do you
environment.
get a job working in the museum designing exhibits? Like you said you're a teacher. Like what kind of background, what kind of careers are available for stuff like that? And then what kind of background do you need to have to get those?
Yeah, in my department, in the exhibits department, what's really cool is that everyone's from a wide variety of backgrounds. I'm from an education background. We have a couple of designers on staff, or graphic designers, and went to design school. We have someone who has a Master of Fine Arts in exhibit design. There are like degree programs that you can do that, and where you get more architectural design. But like that individual actually also is a dancer by training. So like artistic backgrounds, education backgrounds, enough science content knowledge that like, well, for me in particular, enough science content knowledge that I can talk to researchers and scientists and learn more about the content of the exhibit. But for example, the designers don't have to do that as much, and it's a really team process. So I'd say it's less of like, what do you have to like study in school, and more of kind of on the job training and experiences. There's lots of museums are really great at offering volunteer opportunities and like internships even. So finding a place that you can just go along to.
When we actually get to this unit, and if students have questions, would you be willing to Skype with us later with some students maybe involved if they had some questions about exhibit design and things like that?
Yeah, I think that if, we could set up like kind of one time. I'm actually doing another class later this week in person. And so it's something I'm happy to do.
So I think that was really valuable communication between her and us. And if she sends us that stuff about how, like their checklist of how they design an exhibit, or even gets us in contact with her sister that is an educator that maybe has done the write-up for this, that's completely worth the time.
Definitely. I'm really glad that she took the time to meet with us, and she gave us some really great things to consider when we are assigning this project, and for what to think about when we go to set it up in the gym, and all kinds of great stuff.
Yeah. All the different variables that they have to think about ahead of time are all the things that we want our students to think about it. So it was good food for thought.